we decided that among the priorities of the MK party, one such priority is to bring about fundamental changes or amendments to the Constitution. You are aware, for example, that as MK party we are not apologetic. We believe that land must be expropriated without compensation. That is our position. We are not apologetic. To that end, we have submitted a bill to Parliament for the amendment of Section 25 of the Constitution in its entirety, so that there is a new section in terms of which land may now, going forward, be expropriated without compensation. In addition to that, we as the MK party have piloted other changes, significant changes to the Constitution. One of them relates to Section 235 of the Constitution, in terms of which you have these new independent states like Orania and Klein-Fontaine. We contend that that is unconstitutional to the extent that they are relying on Section 235 of the Constitution. That Constitution must be amended. That section must be amended. Also, there is a clause in the Constitution which says South Africa belongs to all those who live in South Africa. We do not believe that. South Africa belongs to South Africans, black and white, but you must be a citizen of this country before you can say, I am a South African. You can't just visit here for 2 weeks and say, I happen to live here. I love Consentia. I love whatever area, and therefore I must benefit from the section or the constitution of this country. So we decided to create a special Whippery to deal precisely with constitutional amendments. We brought back Commander Andile Mqitama, who was in the Whippery before. He's a powerful, he's strong. He will ensure that at all times the constitutional amendments that we want to bring to the fore are processed without delay. For that reason, we decided to introduce those changes which are necessitated by operational considerations, because we don't want just to be a party which is an opposition. We regard ourselves as a government in waiting. We want to be active and effective in our opposition. So what we have done, the significant change to the Whippery, we decided that communication, we have existed in communication without the head of communication. We don't need a Whippery in communication, but we have realigned. Instead of having a Whippery in communication, rather let us have a Whippery to process constitutional amendments for the reasons that I've clearly articulated. This has sparked a lot of debate and unnecessary public attention, right? And I think let me deal with that squarely and fairly. We've had significant changes to the Whippery. I first came here when we first came to Parliament on the 25th of June last year. The chief whip was Usihle Ngubane. Usihle Ngubane was replaced in September last year by Comrade Mzwanele Manye, who was replaced a couple of months ago by Comrade Colin Makubela. Those were strategic changes designed to ensure that the party has teeth that were not just opposing, but were real and effective. Right? When Commander Manye was the chief whip, he made quite a lot of changes to the Whippery, one of which was that Andile Mqitama ceased to be a whip. The other one, Umsezane, was a whip, he ceased to be a whip. Carol was also a whip, she ceased to be a whip. We accommodated the CEOs, as they are affectionately known, Ugama, Umolife, and Montana, as well as Umanye himself, because we recognize their talent. It was never international news. It wasn't headlines that the MK party is falling apart. This is the first time ever when there is a change made to the Whippery, it hits headlines. We don't understand why. We don't understand why. For that reason, let me also explain. When Commander Makubele came, she we used to have Commandant Tlamulo Ndlela as a whip of communications. He voluntarily stepped down as a whip of communications and allowed Commander Makubele to take over. When Commander Makubele was promoted to the position now of a chief whip, there was a vacancy, and we've decided to do away with that vacancy. There is no more any whippery relating to communication. It's a strategic change, and it's an administrative change. It's not a caucus issue. It's not a caucus issue. It's an administrative change which we made in consultation with the president of Umkhonto weSizwe Party. He is well aware of those changes. Also, let me add here, I'm the party leader, as well as the deputy president of Umkhonto weSizwe Party. The president has made it clear I mustn't be a crybaby. On issues relating to Parliament, if there are any changes of a structural nature, changes that are necessitated because we want to make ourselves effective, I have a final say in that regard, subject to conferring with him where necessary. That's it. Let me now turn to one or two things that have happened since then, and I want to deal with them now once and for all so that they will not arise. When the changes were made, unfortunately we went through a situation whereby we had to terminate the whippery status of Commandant Tlamulo Ndlela. He was a deputy whip, remember, and no longer a whip. We decided to terminate that for the reasons that were given to him. There is a letter that was written by my office on the 23rd of June 2025, which was formally handed to him, right, in terms of which his whippery status as a deputy whip, in terms of which that was terminated. There were reasons clearly articulated in that letter. Following that, obviously, it meant he was no longer part of the whippery, because whenever we meet as a whippery, it's always myself, the chief whips, the deputy chief whip, and all other deputy whips. So a group of about 18 or 19 altogether. The result of terminating that meant he was no longer going to attend those meetings. He rocked up at a meeting and said he did not get the letter. His case was that he did not receive the letter terminating his membership as a whipper. The chief whip immediately said at that meeting, if you did not receive the letter, we will give you the letter after the meeting. After that, he came to me and raised the issue that he did not receive the letter. I said to him, we can't talk about the letter that you say you have not even received. Once you receive the letter, we may have a discussion along those lines. But also interesting, at that point, his defense or his excuse was he has not received the letter. He doesn't know what we're talking about. Alternatively, that his removal must be sanctioned by the president of Umkhonto weSizwe, which is clearly not the position. All along the changes that have taken place, the president of Umkhonto weSizwe was never involved. When it became clear that Commander Ndlela has in fact received the letter, his story changed. The letter is not authentic in as much as it's my electronic signature which appears on the letter, right? Now, it is important to say his stance initially was that he did not receive the letter. When it became abundantly clear that he has now received the letter, he changed to saying, no, this is not the signature of the parliamentary leader. If anything, this has been forged. Let me confirm categorically that the letter came from my office. It was on the strength of that letter dated the 26th of June, 23rd of June, in terms of which Commander Ndlela was removed. Interestingly, as he was busy saying he did not receive the letter, I got an SMS, a WhatsApp from my administrator, my PA, saying that, she still calls me Judge, saying that, Judge, here is proof that this was sent to Commandant Lela on the same day. He carried on saying that he didn't receive it. He repeated those allegations in the last caucus that we had. The bottom line is that the letter was sent to him before I sent it to the president, advising him of the significant changes that had taken place. Furthermore, I can assure you, I'm the head of the party. I'm the party leader here in government. Here in Parliament. If any complaint is made against any staff member or any MP, it's brought to me because I'm ultimately responsible. There is no letter, there is no petition in terms of which MPs are calling for the head of the chief whip. This is a figment of someone's imagination, quite frankly. I would have been the first person to receive that petition. Obviously, if the petition is against me, I wouldn't expect MPs to give it to me. They would probably give it to the chief whip, who would in turn forward it to the president, who is sitting in Nkandla comfortably now. So the suggestion that there is a letter here, that there is a petition here against the chief whip is quite frankly nonsense. It is nonsense. There is no such. I have not received it. As a matter of fact, I asked Ubaba as late as last night to President Zuma. There is no such letter. Colleen Makubele remains a chief whip here. She is very good. She is very effective as a chief whip. She is good. I'm not undermining the predecessors, but she is the kind of a chief whip that we need now to take the party forward. I confirm, therefore, categorically that there is no petition against the chief whip. And she remains our chief whip. She will remain as such until she is recalled strategically for one reason or the other. I wasn't born a party leader myself. I could be recalled one day in the interest of the party to move forward. So if she is recalled, anyone who is recalled, it is in the interest of the party to move forward. Normally people are recalled from one position and redeployed, even within a party. It happens the party is new. Don't judge us with reference to parties which have been around for a very long time, like the ANC and the DA. We are new and we have attracted members from all walks of life. Others are coming with clean hands, others are coming with a bad motive. So changes are important and they are inevitable. We don't redeploy people just because, simply because we don't like their faces, but people are redeployed for strategic reasons. I want to sum this up. This is the first time when there are changes which are made that it becomes international news. So I see no reason why the redeployment, the fact that Commandant Ndlela is no longer a whip, I see no reason why it should be headlines. It doesn't indicate that the party is falling apart. We have been here. I've been here in Parliament, leading this Parliament caucus for a year now. It's just over a year. The party is not falling apart. Secondly, there is no petition here at all in terms of which Commander Makubele is being kicked out. If anything, she has done exceptionally well. Within the caucus, you do have a couple of people who want to push their own agenda, and I think you know them by now. And finally, I can confirm categorically that the letter dated the 23rd of June, 2025, emanated from my office, the person who actually, like all other correspondence, to Commandant Ndlela. And then obviously, based on what happened at the meeting, this closed meeting of the Whippery, I had to forward complaints. I forwarded a report to the president relating to unfortunate events that happened there. I don't think there is much to add in that regard. I'm going to hand over now to the Chief Whip, who will take you through some of the significant changes. I can tell you straight away what we did, just by way of background. Stop me if you think I'm talking too much. I'm trying to impress this young lady.
If you encroach in my area, I'll stop you.
Oh, all right. We've introduced some, thank you so much. We've introduced some significant changes. Again, we recognize the experience of those who are coming. And more water for the Chief Whip, please. Do you have water? We recognize this, the experience and expertise of those commanders. We call each other commanders, those who are coming. This is in line with what we have done before. There is absolutely nothing new. These changes are not a caucus issue. They are purely administrative. Just like if the president were to change the cabinet and do a cabinet reshuffle, he knows what he's doing. It doesn't become a matter which must be open for discussion to say, why is he doing this, why is he doing that? It doesn't work like that. So you will see that these significant changes are such that we call, remember Parliament functions largely by way of committees, right? Committees are clustered. For example, cluster number 1 is called Peace and Security Cluster. You have Justice, you have Correctional Services, you have so many other committees under Cluster 1. And our Cluster Whip is Commander Douglas, Wesley Douglas, who's a very good, experienced politician, but his qualification lies in economics. If I remember well, he has a master's degree in economics from Harvard. How many of you have ever seen Harvard? You will get there one day, maybe as visitors. We'll get there. Well, I'm joking. Come on, give me credit. I can also joke. I've never been to Harvard. I never studied at Harvard. You know why? Because if you look at top universities in the world, it's Cambridge, followed by Oxford, and then Harvard. Okay, that's just by way of joking. Let's just take that example. He's a cluster head, but he's training. He's an economist. Within that cluster, there is justice, right? So we decided, let's just recognize the talent of people within that cluster. For that reason, Nomvalo, who is an attorney, who is a lawyer, he will be the team leader or the portfolio leader. In other words, he would lead any discussion, any motion, any bill, anything to do with matters of justice. If there is a debate to do with judges' salaries, magistrates' salaries, anything to do with justice, he is responsible. Why? Because he is an expert in the area. And we also want them as portfolio heads, as portfolio leaders, if you like, to ensure that they pick everything every day in the committees. If something is newsworthy, we are going to be told by them. He will say, I've just attended this, it is newsworthy, let us formulate a position as a party in line with our election manifesto. In the past, we've been losing a lot, and a lot of the good work that we are doing here goes unnoticed, it falls within the cracks. So it is against this background that these significant changes have been introduced, and we also want each and every one of the MPs to have a role to play. All 58 of us are sitting in different committees, some of us in 2 or even 3 committees. We want to ensure that there is an even spread of work and every member's talent, skill, and expertise is recognized. With those few words, I would like to hand over now to my Chief Whip, who is going to take over and elaborate on some of the aspects that I have alluded to. Without much ado, over to you, Commander Makubele. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DP. And once again, good morning to the members of the media, my colleagues and fellow South Africans. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And the purpose of today's briefing, DP has already alluded, really to answer some of the questions that have been bubbling in the media. But most importantly, we want to share with you our latest developments as a parliamentary caucus, some of the plans that we're focusing on. And as a new Chief Whip, I still consider myself new. It's only been a month. And I must say, a very stormy month, which culminated into this last week. But it has been a very productive time, and I appreciate the full cooperation of all the members of the MKP caucus, including the staff. And let me extend, as a start, my gratitude once again to President Zuma and the collective leadership of MK Party for entrusting me with this responsibility. And thank you to the DP as well for his constant support and guidance in this role. I shared with you last time that as MK Party, we have defined our path to power. We've had our own strategic session where we have really delved down into what do we want to achieve in this upcoming year. And you will know that our year, first year of existence as MK Party, we celebrated that 16th December. And between now and the next 16th December, we really want Parliamentary caucus to have an impact. We want our constituencies, our grassroots to feel our presence in Parliament, and hence these changes that DP has been talking about on the committees. We're going to introduce to you today, and very excited about it, our portfolio leaders. These are the leaders that as we move towards our path to power, and considering ourselves as a government in waiting, they're going to ensure that on each and every matter that affects South Africans nationally, locally, internationally, provincially, they're able to answer. They have the experience, they have the skills, and you would know if you want somebody in the public service administration, this is the leader. Other parties or other parliaments around the world may call these shadow ministers. We want to shy away from shadow ministers. We call them portfolio leaders as we move towards our path to power. So you'll be introduced to them. We'll share with you that excitement that we have. And this is brought about, of course, by the introduction of our 9 last remaining members that joined us about a week ago, who have really hit the ground running, and they've brought in wealth of experience. They're bringing in their expertise, and integrating them into the team has really enriched the caucus and the perspectives and the views that we're going to be advancing in line with our people's mandate, and of course consistent with our constitution through the committees and the National Assembly. We are going to focus a lot on strengthening the parliamentary performance. This is very, very important for us, that our presence in each and every committee must have impact. We spoke about the changes in the Whippery, which aligns to this vision. The whip of legislation is very critical for us. When we come into power, there are certain legislations that we want to be governing with. Land without compensation, expropriation thereof, decolonization of the economy, and many other proposals, land reforms that we are proposing now in our private members' bills through engagements with the over 26 bills that the National Parliament is busy with at the moment. And we need to give inputs and make sure that our constituencies on the ground attend the public hearings, ensure that when we get to debate them, there's really well-researched inputs into those bills and those legislative proposals. And that's why this Whippery is so critical for us, and it's aligning our path to power with what is in our people's mandate. So you'll see a lot of that coming up. We are also focusing on enhancing our public engagements. We do understand that our connection with the grassroots and mobilization of the grassroots through our constituency work and oversight work is very, very critical. And hence these alignments that we have made in the portfolio committees and how we're going to posture ourselves in our debates in the National Assembly becomes very critical. And some of this, you begin to feel them as time goes on, as people settle in their new roles. Sectoral engagements have become very important through churches, union, traditional leaders, small business, etc. And that's why we have made all of these changes that we're talking about today. DP has spoken about the appointment of the new Whippery and what has happened, so I'm not going to delve into that. But I think looking at South Africa and the juncture that we find ourselves, with unemployment of over 40%, especially youth unemployment, and African women facing over 51% of unemployment, and we can see that the government of national unity is failing. It's failing dismally. It's failing to address the deepening poverty, inequality, and joblessness. It has become important that a disciplined caucus, a focused caucus, is strengthened to be able to address and sharply deal with these failures on a daily basis through various portfolio committees and through the grassroots mobilization. That's really what we want to sharpen our focus on as we go into our second year as MK Party. Now, a lot of what we wanted to address with you, the DP has spoken to, but there remain one of the things that has been bubbling in the media concerning some pronouncements by, I don't know, some of the media stations that have been running with some stories of why I have been fired, or there's a call to fire me, or there's some letter that is purportedly out there signed by members of parliament. And DP has said there is no such letter. We haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. The caucus itself hasn't seen it. We're coming from the caucus. We're all shocked and disappointed to see this in the media. And it has created a shock in our caucus. It has dented our image as a caucus. And that's what we want to work to restore right now, and to ensure that something like this never, ever happens again in the manner that it has happened. It is regrettable indeed. Now, MK Party, it's 1 year old, and everybody that is in MK Party, including myself, we all come from various parties. Whether there are those that joined 16 December when the party started in 2023, or there are those like us who joined post the elections. All of us, we come from various parties that had various and differing postures on many issues pertaining to their ideology or the economic policies or international policies, etc. Now, the vision that President Zuma has to unite African parties, he made it very, very clear when we met post the 2024 general elections. And some of the meetings happened at the Rock, some in various locations. The unification of African parties and black African politicians that are busy starting parties everywhere is so critical. And it cannot be stopped because we've got different perspectives on certain issues. We have to find a common ground on what matters to South Africans. And we have all agreed to rally behind the MK Party constitution. We'll rally behind the people's mandate. That means people like, I'll give an example. Let's say Joe Ndlela, who comes from the Patriotic Alliance, who have different views on economic policies, international policies, even the relations between Israel and Palestine. He's now with MK Party, aligning and abiding by the Constitution and the people's mandate. People like Bongani Baloyi, coming from the Democratic Alliance, have different views on many aspects, whether it's decolonization of the economy, whether it's land without expropriation, whether it's Russia-Ukraine war. They have come into the party and they've aligned to the vision of the party. People like Honorable Wes Douglas, he comes from the ACDP. There are various views as well and postures on what they believed, and they had shared different perspectives in those parties in various platforms. People like myself, I came from COPE, I came from my own party, Sarah, and we shared different views on even privatization of state assets. And we have decided to come together under the umbrella of MK Party, abiding by the people's mandate and the views and the postures and the ideology that is shared by MK Party and its membership collectively. And President Zuma appreciated that, and he has taken his time to thoroughly guide us on many aspects: Pan-African posture of MK, Israel-Palestine posture of MK, the economic policies of MK, what we believe in terms of land. As I said, the traditional leaders are very important to us and their rightful place within the Constitution and within our local government sphere. And those are some of the things that we are pushing vehemently in Parliament week after week, in terms of our motions, in terms of member statements, in terms of our debates. Even now in the budget debates, we are making sure that we locate some of those policies where they belong, and we argue our points according to that. So it was very malicious and mischievous to choose one aspect of a perspective that we have shared in our various political parties to drive a certain narrative that there are members of Parliament that are not happy with Comrade Colleen Makubele, and therefore should be fired. That is incorrect indeed. Now, I think, Deputy President, you have covered us in most of the big questions that needed to be answered. And but lastly, let me say before we announce the portfolio leaders, which we are very, very excited about, and we will share with you their contact details. From now on, if you need to know anything in higher education, you will know exactly who to contact. If you've got any questions in tourism, you will know exactly who will speak on that issue. One of the things that the DP has mandated myself to do, of course, together with the Whippery and the caucus, is really to strengthen our governance as well within the caucus, the parliamentary caucus. So that's going to be the focus in the next few months, to make sure that we are aligning to the constitution of MK Party. We also align to the Parliament's expectation and the legislation that is set down by Parliament on how caucuses should be conducted and run and account. Key to our strategy is accountability, not only to the party, not only to our constituencies, not only to those that we serve in South Africa in general, but to Parliament and also to all the various stakeholders that we need to be accountable to. And on that note, I will allow the DP. Do you want to announce the names?
I will gladly do this. Thank you. Thank you so much. These are the names. We call them portfolio leaders. Portfolio leaders, not ministers. We're not ministers. We're not in cabinet. There are 36 of them altogether, and I'm sure we can share this with you. Yes. Firstly is agriculture. We have Uzwelakhe Mthethwa. That's the gentleman on the Mkhele. He sits in that portfolio, he's well known. Appropriations, Usanele Mwali is our auditor. We have him there. Thirdly, Auditor General, Uwenzokuhle Madlala. He is one of the deputy whips, an accountant by profession. Basic education, Usphetho Mkhize. He's currently doing his PhD on education. I think social science. Communication and technical, and one of the newly appointed MPs. So you can see we're recruiting talent. Communications and digital technology, Uvusi Shongwe, he was here earlier. Cooperative government and traditional affairs is called, COGTA? Yes, COGTA. It's Jeffrey Mtolo. Correctional services, Ulungisani Shangas. Defense and military veterans, Uzibuse Cele. This is one MP, he's on a wheelchair. He was a soldier before, so we've put him there. He knows everything about defense, but also he is on a wheelchair. We also want to make it very clear to all and sundry that when we say we support disabled or differently able South Africans, we mean it. Right, correctional services, sorry, why am I going back now? Electricity and energy, Brian Molife, employment and labor, shares. This is Finance and Financial Management of Parliament, Udes van Rooyen, Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Utsepo Temba, Health is Patrick Motibatse, High Education, Umnqobi Msezane, Home Affairs, Usihle Ngubane, Human Settlements, Thulani Gamede, International Relations and Cooperation, Commander Wesley Douglas, Justice and Constitutional Development, Usbonelo Nomvalo is an attorney by profession, Land Reform and Rural Development, Kaelihle Madala, Mineral and Petroleum Resources, Ulihonono Slepe, the Multi-Party Women's Caucus Steering Committee, Mabel Khwekane, commonly known as Shelley Brown. Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Umzwanyele Manyi, the former Chief Whip. Police is David Skosana, everybody knows Babu Skosana. Presidency, that's women, youth, children, people with disabilities, Mabel Khwekane, Shelley Brown. Presidency, State Security Intelligence, that's Colleen Makubele, the one and only Chief Whip. Police, Public Accounts, Talented Beggar. He's also an accountant. You can see we have lots of accountants here, right? Talented Beggar is an accountant. Public Service and Administration, Ukukuletu Mkhulo. Public Works and Infrastructure, Nkosinathi Nxumalo, Uzwide. Science, Technology and Innovation, Uthembinkosi Mjadu. Small Businesses and Development, Carol, Commander Carol, Carol Mfakhane. Social Development, Nowethemba Mzweni. Sports, Arts and Culture, Ugift Mutaung is one of the new MPs. Tourism is none other than Commander Moodley. He comes from eThekwini, well known. Trade, Industry and Competition, Siyabonga Gama. Transport, Lucky Montana. There is nobody here who does not know Lucky Montana. Finally, but by no means least, and that's number 86, Water and Sanitation, Commander Visvin Reddy. That gives you a total of 36 portfolio leaders. Their numbers are available. We will share them with you. For example, if an issue arises in Parliament, you want to know the views of the MK party with regard to water and sanitation. Don't come to me. I know nothing about water and sanitation. Don't go to the Chief Whip. Maybe she knows a little bit more than I. But Vice Reddy would be the person to contact. If it's matters of justice, I've made an example, don't come to me. Don't go to anybody else. Go to Commander Nomvalo. If it's issues of transport and so on and so on. So all 36 portfolio committees in Parliament are covered here. This does not mean the whips of the clusters, the cluster heads, have been done away with. No. If you remember the example I gave you before, the very first cluster, which is peace and security, we have Commander Wesley Douglas, whose expertise and training is in economics. He cannot be expected to do justice to issues of law. That's why he will remain the cluster head, but there will be a specialist, right, working very closely with him to ensure that all matters pertaining to justice are brought to the fore. With those few words, please join me in welcoming this new team. It's not a new team, but we've realigned the team. It's important for you now as the media to liaise with them directly so that you get it from them. You want any information relating to any of these portfolios, these are our experts. These are our experts. Go to them, please. They will be able to articulate for you a clear position of MK Party which is found clearly on our constitution, among other things, but most importantly, on the People's Manifesto.
Indeed.
All right,
So,
over to you.
thank you very
Chief.
much,
Thank you.
DP. Now, we're going to allow one round of questions because members of media, please bear with us. The letter dated 23rd June with various issues raised by the DP, complaints about certain members of Parliament. It's authentic, it's valid, it's signed by him, but we cannot delve into those details. It's sub judice. It was a letter between the Deputy President and the President that unfortunately leaked, so we're not going to be answering any questions concerning to that letter. And we have answered to you most of the things that we felt was important to clear in the air. Frankly, we'll be happy if there are no questions and we allow the party to run its processes, and then they will come back to us. And then lastly, it's just to say the caucus remains intact, united in one purpose, to serve. We are serving as comrades deployed by MK Party here in Parliament, or commanders deployed by MK Party here in Parliament. We're serving through this privilege of the National Assembly that has been afforded to us to serve and push the people's mandate. And we thank you so much for coming to listen to us. Just one round of questions. A lot of questions we'll not be able to answer. We are not being rude, we are not being funny, and we appreciate that you have come. But please understand the sensitivity around a lot of issues, and we will attempt to answer. We have, through the DP, requested that Commander Nhlamulo cease from talking on this matter as well in the public media, because he's one of the affected parties, and we want to allow the party leader and myself, who are mandated to talk on behalf of the Parliamentary caucus, to talk to you today, and after today, just allow us to run this process to its conclusion, and we will periodically have this press briefing on issues pertaining to the developments of our work in Parliament, share with you what our plans are, topical issues or issues of interest pertaining to us advancing our people's mandate, and various things. We'll be communicating from time to time, and we appreciate this relationship and your presence. Thank you again. Just one round of questions here.
All right, so can we do Jason, Kevin, Nehru, anybody else? Yes, last round, and then that's it. Please, when you do say your questions, just say where you're from and then follow through with the question. And then we'll hand it to Mr. Chief. Thank you.
Just a question to Dr. Tobe, as Jason Felix from Eastern Info. Has Mr. Nhlamulo, has he been removed from the party or just from the Whippery? And has he been removed from his position as a spokesperson? And if so, who has taken over that position? And then I just wanted to ask about the dysfunctionality or the perceived dysfunctionality in the MK, which you have touched on. How do you plan to become more of a force of an opposition? Because I mean, many experts and your colleagues in the National Assembly have said that Mkhonto Wesizwe Party is not doing enough to be a constructive and a more of a force of an opposition. And then just lastly, Toby, how many of the decisions and discussions that happens here or that takes place here in the Parliamentary caucus, how many of that goes to President Zuma before we take a final decision? Thank you.
Can I deal with that immediately? I'm quite happy to deal with it. Thank you for those questions. The very last part. I'm a parliamentary leader and a leader of the caucus. In my role is very simple. It's defined by law. It is to ensure that the strategic position, political position of a party, the buck stops with me on matters of politics. It is inevitable that there will be one or two things that I'm not so sure of myself, either because they are not covered in our People's Manifesto or it's a new matter altogether. I'll give you an example. When there was a debate relating to our soldiers in DRC, I knew the position of the party. But remember, those soldiers were deployed to DRC when President Zuma was still the president of this country. So I needed more information from him, and indeed I engaged him extensively. He happened to be in Cape Town. I went to him. I said, I need your guidance here. These are my prima facie view. I've looked at the People's Manifesto. This is where we stand. But given that these soldiers were deployed by you to DRC, is there any further information that you would like to enlighten me on? And the position that was taken by MK Party was as a result of the discussion with him. His view was that we as South Africa, DRC is there because of the role that we have played as South Africans. When this is President Zuma now talking, when I deployed those soldiers, it was not to protect anybody's business, but it was because we needed to protect the DRC, which is very important in the African region, in the SADC region. And therefore, our position as MK Party was informed by that input by President Zuma. That's why our position was leave the soldiers where they are, but they need to be. The army has not been funded properly. Our position was leave them in the DRC, but fund the army properly. So it was informed by the input. But I'm also a politician. I don't phone President Zuma every day. We're all politicians, all 58 of us here, plus 4 in the National Assembly, right? NCOP, I beg your pardon. So there will be times when we phone him, right? He doesn't get phoned by me every day, right? As far as running Parliament, I'm the party leader. The buck stops with me. Changes of an administrative nature are made by me, and then I would let the President know as a matter of courtesy, right? So I'm involved in those changes. You asked the question specifically about Commander Ndlela. Yes, he's still the national spokesperson of a party, but I made it clear that he's no longer part of the Whippery in terms of the letter that was written and communicated to him. Thank you for the question. The other question, sorry, was the perception by other parties that were not effective. Let me ask you this. We say, let me put this to you. If you are ineffective, you are just standing still, do you think a dog would bark at you? It's a question. You are standing still, you are not moving, you are not making any impact. Do you think a dog would bark at you? Let me answer for you. The dog would not bark at you. Look at the work that you have done. And these criticisms come from those parties that are disintegrating. They don't come from respectable parties. As MK Party, we are highly regarded in Parliament. We are disciplined. We are not there to swear at people. That's not our role. They can swear at us, but they are disintegrating. Right? If proof of that, we have won most of the by-elections where we participated. Some of these parties that we are talking about, we know them. They are disintegrating. They are yet to win a single ward in the country. They just rely on PRCs. So we are content. We are satisfied with the input that we have made before. We're not going to rest on our laurels and say, we're doing well. There's always room to improve. We are here to improve and improve on the quality of people, particularly those who are marginalized, particularly those who are poor. Wherever we go, people will say to me, we always see you on TV. Thank you so much for standing for us. So we get feedback from our people. They are happy with the input that we make in Parliament, considering that we're a new party and that all odds are against us. And thirdly, we started in Parliament 2 weeks after Parliament started last year. We came here on the 25th of June 2025. I'm saying with all due respect, look at who is criticizing us. Those are the parties that are falling apart, the party because their leaders are arrogant. They keep swearing at people every day. We don't do that. I'm reminded by what Babu Zuma always says. He always says, if a person calls you a dog, just look at him and laugh. Because you know you're not a dog. You have 2 legs, you don't have a tail. So to sum it up, we can always do more. and we intend doing more. This is why we're not resting on our laurels. This is why we're realigning the party so that each and every one of the portfolio heads is going to assume the role of getting in touch with you and say, I'm going to debate this next week. Please come, Jason, if I may call you Jason. Please come, Jason, and be here because I'm debating on this. So we are trying our best to improve on our performance. We don't care about dogs that are barking at us. If a dog is barking at you, it shows that there is movement, there is life. The dog will never bark at a corpse. Thank you.
In fact, to build to what DP has said, we are one of the parties that in the committees of Parliament, we are hailed as bringing input that is well-researched, experienced, to an extent where some of our members are actually teaching members of Parliament there. What we may not have done well in is really to profile those committees on a daily basis, all of them, and showcase what our members are doing. And that's one of the areas where we are going to strengthen. But they recognize the talent that MK has. And we are one of the most well-represented parties in terms of representation. You look at the skill set that we've spoken about. There are those that are disabled here, and they're bringing inputs from the defense, the military. We've got the less educated with less formal education. They are here as well. They represent a significant portion of our constituency, and they're able to speak to the heart of they are well-connected, unfiltered connection with the constituencies. They may not speak English like me and you, the way we want to hear it, but they speak sense. They speak the heart of the community. They understand what it is that government ought to be doing to address the needs of the people. So we're doing very well in terms of that, but we can always improve and we can always profile it better. And we're going to be working on that very, very hard going forward.
Thank you.
Dr. Kevin Grant from ENCA. Just reaction to alleged friction between you and the party president Jacob Zuma over your intervention there in the MK Mpumalanga convener court case in the Mbombela High Court. Apparently that your intervention there paved the way for the party to lose that case. Just reaction on the JSC now recommending the Judge President Dunstan Lambo as the Deputy Chief Justice. If you can give us a reaction to that.
I will deal with that quickly. Thank you very much. With regard to Mpumalanga, there is no animosity whatsoever between me and President Zuma, right, at all. I think that emanated from an affidavit that was submitted to court. And the animosity is created by the media. But he is reported as having said in the affidavit he was not aware of the legal team that I appointed to take over from there. So don't take it with respect out of context. That can never be regarded as, what's the term? That can never be regarded as evidence of any hostility and or tension. I engage regularly with President Zuma on matters of mutual interest. Remember, I'm his deputy. I haven't sensed anything. So media, please desist from making stories that don't exist. There is no animosity between President Zuma and I. On the issue of the JSC recommending Justice Dunstan Mlambo, we as the MK party, I personally wrote a letter, we objected. We were conducted as the opposition. We objected to him. I made it clear that he should not be appointed as such, right? We objected. Obviously, politics is about numbers. I don't even sit on the JSC. He was recommended. It's something that I cannot change. But our official position as the MK party, we objected to his candidature, and I gave detailed reasons, right, which are not relevant for this purpose. Thank you. I can deal with the next question. I prefer to answer one question at a time.
The
I'm
last
getting
question
old
then.
now.
All right, so we're going to do just one more question, and then in the interest of time, we're going to have to wrap it up. So Newsroom, I think there's a
I
question.
think there is a lady there.
Yeah.
Dr. Shlope, while we are on matters of the JSE, you were outlining the party's program. What is the party going to do to push for your seat that you rightfully have on the JSE and which has been unfilled since the last nomination of yourself?
Thank you. The seat is waiting for me, and I'm glad nobody is warming it. We know why I was excluded. Remember what had happened. I came here, I was recommended, I was deployed by my party to the JSC. There was a political debate, right? Those who don't like my face lost the political debate. Having lost the political debate in the National Assembly, they ran to the courts and litigated. The courts found in favor of those who don't like to see my face, right? I'm glad there's nobody who's warming my seat, and as you correctly said, one day I'll go back to the JSC. So what we are doing now, we're appealing against that ruling, because our view is simply this. We have to respect separation of powers. Once Parliament has pronounced it is wrong for the courts to upset that which Parliament has pronounced upon in a democratic process. The courts must respect what is the terrain or the province of Parliament. Parliament must similarly respect the terrain or the province of the judiciary. If anything, my case underscores, it highlights the problems with having a country run by the judiciary. What we have in South Africa, with respect, is no longer a country which is run by the 400 men and women in the National Assembly and 90 men and women in the NCOP. But the courts are now being run by the judiciary. There's a big difference between politicians and judges. As politicians who are elected, each and every one of us here represents 41 seats. We represent 41,000, I beg your pardon, 41,000 people who voted for us. The case is a classic illustration that if you are not careful and you give too much powers to the judiciary will make decisions that would conflict with the interest or the will of the people.
Did you hold that view while you were a judge?
Did I hold that view? Judges are not supposed to hold any political views. I never held any political views. I kept my views to myself. I'll give you an example. I've always believed that the land was stolen from us. I have never verbalized that until it became clear to me that I was on my way out of the judiciary. I kept my views as a judge. For example, there are so many judges who believe in the death sentence. There are judges who believe in the death sentence. I was never one of those. But it is wrong for a judge who is sitting to say, if I had the powers to impose death sentence here, I would have sentenced you to death. It doesn't work like that. When you are a serving judge, you obey the Constitution and the laws under which you are serving. And that discipline I've carried through. For example, in Mkhonto with Caesar, we're often labeled as a bunch of thugs or hooligans. We are not. We are fighting constitutionally to amend the Constitution. We are not those who say if you see an empty piece of land, just occupy it. No. We are saying the problem is the law. It is Section 25 of the Constitution, which mandates compensation to those who stole our land. We must get 2/3 majority to change that, right? So we are fighting tyranny, if you like, within constitutional means, which is change the Constitution. That's where the problem is. There's a big difference between a thug and someone who fights within the law to achieve justice. That's exactly what I do. So in short, my case and the JSC is a clear illustration that if you give judges an inch, they will take a mile. If you give them if you give judges an inch, they will take a yard. If you give them a yard, they will take a mile. It clearly illustrates that the Constitution, by having this wonderful Constitution in the world, we have ended up with a situation whereby the judiciary is far more powerful. Finally, on that issue, if you look at events elsewhere, I think it was in the newspapers, it was widely publicized. A lot of countries are aware that the judiciary is powerful and that judges may abuse their powers. In Mexico, for example, this is the first country, it was reported about 5-6 weeks ago, where judges are now being elected. They have moved away from appointing judges. Judges in Mexico are being elected in the same way as politicians are being elected. The reason is plain enough. It's because the whole notion of judicial independence is a myth. Judges are human beings. Judges are human beings. When you put it this way, a completely unambiguous statute is yet to be enacted. So your background, where you're coming from, your position in society, your upbringing, all these things come to the fore when you interpret legislation. Take it from me. I was a judge for 29 years. I know what I'm talking about. So the whole notion of the independence of the judiciary is, at the end of the day, this case of mine illustrates that sometimes you end up with results which are unintended and nobody is talking about it. So we are going to appeal because politically the case illustrates exactly our point. You give judges too much powers, they end up running the country. Judges are not elected in this country, but politicians are elected. I represent 41,000 voters. You also represent 41,000 voters. Judges represent no voters at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Peter.
That's
Yeah. Thank you so much.
our session. In the interest of time, we have to close it here. But thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Done. Let's go to the office. Thank you.